Hard to believe it, but Coach Malone has been on the job for almost 3 months now, so it's time to ask, is Carolina basketball headed back in the right direction?
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. You saw him on last week's live postcast after the national championship loss for the Diamond Heels to Oklahoma. What a way to make an entrance onto Locked On Tar Heels, but now he's back under happier circumstances. Our guy, Jonathan Adams from the Point to the Passer podcast. Behind the scenes, we've been bros for a while. We've never met in person, but we've texted a lot throughout the last couple years. I've been on their show, and we've been trying to work it and finally making it happen. And Jay, I feel like we got to start making this a more regular thing. Got some great feedback from that postcast the other night. We've got some rapport, my man, and it's good stuff. I love it. Welcome in.
Thanks, Isaac. Great to be on. Great to be chatting Carolina hoops with you. All things UNC. It's I love the show. I'm avid. I can consider myself an everydayer and just appreciate the fact that you grind at this every day. And I think for folks who have not done a podcast before, just the amount of work that goes into the multiple podcasts that you do. So honestly, appreciate the service that you bring, because for folks who are just avid Carolina fans, we want all the intel, all the information, and it's exciting to be on with you today.
Oh, man, so great. Kind words from you. I'm so grateful. It is the grind, but I absolutely love it. And so it is a labor of love, certainly. So here's where Jay and I are going to head today. Right now, as you're listening to or watching this, it is Monday, June 29th. Hard to believe we're at the end of June, heading into July on Wednesday. So the 25-26 academic and athletic season and year is now officially behind us. Jay and I both work in higher education. I guess I don't anymore. So we get those rhythms of the academic year. So what we're going to do is kind of zoom out and start thinking about 26-27, because it's only a few short months away. At the end of the show, we're going to talk about baseball redemption. Jonathan made a great point the other day on the show about the basketball redemption from 2016 to 17 that they got. And so we're going to look at, could Carolina baseball head in that direction after this brutal loss? Before we get to that, though, we are going to talk basketball for the first two segments of the show. It's the Point to the Passer pod that Jay does. So I want to talk about assists. Who's receiving the most points this year and who will be the most pointee? That's going to be a fun one. But before we get to all that, it's year one of the Coach Malone era. How are we feeling? How are the vibes? Biggest strengths, bigness, question marks, all of that. And by the way, very quickly, I'm gone on a family trip right now for the next couple of weeks. And so if there's something that has happened over the weekend, big breaking news, and we're not talking about it today, it's not because we're idiots. It's just that we pre-recorded this and it hadn't happened yet. So for example, if Angelo Brizzi commits to Carolina, we don't know about it right now, although he did just visit a day or so ago as we record. All right, enough talking for me. I apologize for being long-winded. Here we go. Jay Adams. It's been just shy of 3 months since Coach Malone was hired, which it's crazy it's been that long. It's had some time to breathe now. My question to you, just big picture zoomed out, how are you feeling about the direction of the Carolina basketball program?
I feel great about it, Isaac, and I wouldn't have said that 3 months ago, the way that this played out. I mean, for me, Michael Malone was not really on the list of top candidates. I was sold on the original direction, which was let's go get an experienced college coach, whether that was Tommy Lloyd, obviously Dusty May. There's a lot to talk about now with Dusty and the way things have played out there, with him going to the NBA. So for me, it was let's try to get this experienced college coach, potentially looking at some of the other options. I was really had my eyes on the Vanderbilt coach as the next option, not necessarily Michael Malone. Now that I've had some time to look at this and just, like you said, let it breathe, I think it's a great hire that has a lot of potential. Well, let me phrase this. I think it has a lot of potential. There's a lot of unknowns. We don't really know what this is going to look like. I don't think that Michael Malone necessarily knows how this is going to play out, because this is the first time that he's been a college head coach. But this is somebody that, in an alternate universe, if we go into the multiverse, he could be the Dallas Mavericks head coach right now instead of Dusty May, right? There is a scenario where he was somebody who was sought after as an NBA coach. I think if the Carolina Hurricanes are on top of the world right now, as they should be, and we love the fact they brought a Stanley Cup back to Raleigh. Also, I'll point to Tom Dundon for being frugal, I guess we could say, because if he had offered Malone enough money, he might be the Trailblazers head coach, since Dundon has ownership stake there. So all that to say that initially I was thinking this kind of came out of left field. I get that he was around the program in the fall. I get that his daughter on the volleyball team, all those things. The more that I look at it, the way that he has attacked the job, that part really stands out. And I think the other part is Roy Williams is somebody that we talk about aura, right? Just like being in a room or just seeing him, the way that he commands respect. Michael Malone has that type of aura in the basketball world. The videos, the pictures you see of him in Europe recruiting or out at basketball events and just taking pictures with people. This guy commands basketball respect. He's a great basketball mind. And I love the way that he's attacked the other parts of the job that were the parts that people have more questions about how he's going to adjust to recruiting, to being out on the road, to I thought he won the press conference, or the initial, press conference that which was important. And then how do you interact with boosters? So he's checking a lot of those boxes. This might be a bold thing to say, but I give him an A right now in terms of how he's up to this point in the first 3 months, how he's attacked this job.
I don't think that's too crazy bold at all, because I have no problem separating what's going to happen in the win and loss column from how you've attacked the beginning of the job. And for somebody coming out of not being in the family, more of grafted in or adopted in, which I love how he's embraced that side of it. I feel like he's done about all you could do. And you're right. Like basketball knowledge, X's and O's, all that beyond, like just the respect he has in all circles of basketball is great for Carolina. It's great for recruiting. It's great for all of that, especially in the international market that we live in this day and age. Man, I think that's huge. And you talked about the mystery of it all. There's so many unknowns, because we can get to October and November and things could feel wildly different, and I get there's this thing of when you take a new job, you try not to change anything that people have done like for the first 6 months or so, as it's like, let me just help things kind of function the way they have. But what I'm curious to see is what's going to end up being his balance of what he keeps the same, whether it's Carolina traditions or things that Carolina people expect, which I feel like he's leaning into. But then how does he put his unique Michael Malone-ness onto that and his fingerprints? And so I'm right with you. I'm just curious to see how that all plays out. Now, part of this, we talk about I love that you said an A in the off season, but then of course, what's going to end up mattering more than anything else is the results on the court. Because if that's not there, like it or not, however great a person you are, you're out the door. So then my question, Jay, for us to consider is, what is the expectation? Do you expect big things and big success to happen this first season? Or do we need to exercise some patience, get a full rhythm and rotation in, a full honest recruiting cycle, and then 27-28 would be the year where things really pick up? Well, like, what's your expectation on that side of things?
Big success by the Dean Smith Carolina standard of a 1 seed winning the ACC and competing for national championship, going to the Final Four. No, I think that is unrealistic in year one, because, I mean, you think about it, he literally was announced the day of the national championship game. The morning of that, he's got the job, and the portal opens that night. And so there just wasn't the time, number one, in building the roster. So I think that's piece number one. Number two, there are going to be some adjustments that he's going to have to make. If it's going to be different from the actual coaching perspective and experience. So I would say, no, I wouldn't expect the Carolina standard that we talk so much about. What I think is realistic is this team is a competitive team that can finish top 4 in the ACC. I think that is realistic. And I think realistically, they could also be a top 4. I would say like a 4 seed would be my goal. Not necessarily ceiling, but I think that is realistic. And then get to that second weekend. If you can do those things, you check those boxes, we're moving in the right direction. And then 27, 28 would be that year where I say, okay, now I want to see you try to elevate that back to the standard.
I think that's a very realistic outlook. Like, not an exceptional year, but a very solid, like, B plus kind of year in terms of the Carolina level of expectation, and then you're just taking steps toward it. So I'm with you, and that's almost like if you were asking me the same question, I'd probably give a very similar answer and result. So I won't belabor the point, other than to say I want to help set expectations for the Carolina fan base of what is a reasonable thing to expect this year, given the tardiness to the portal, given all of that, the first year being a college head coach, there's so much to learn. And so very curious to see how it all comes together. Now, that is kind of the shape of our expectations and what we're seeing so far. But let's talk about the actual basketball. As I said earlier, Jonathan does the Point to the Passer podcast, which is one of the great Carolina traditions. So, of course, we got to talk about assists today on Jay's first official visit to the show. We'll get to that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. And that's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. And now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. What's that? You bet on a match and you get bonus bets for every goal that's scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you got to do is turn on your token, and now you get to benefit from each goal. And Jay, you and I were talking about it before we started recording. We're like not huge soccer fans, but when the World Cup rolls around, we're all in. And what a great way this is to help us be like more locked into it.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't done this since the last World Cup, but I like the fact that you can bet on a win, loss, or a draw. There's three different options. It feels like a little bit like when I try to do that I'm at a poker table, like playing Omaha, that I don't know what I'm doing. But it is fun. So as long as it's low numbers for me, I'm okay. But it does help me to get locked in for World. I think probably this next round, the knockout round, I might get back to that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be incredible stuff. And America is already through, and they're looking to next year's national championship odds. Not great for the Heels, plus 5,500 right now. Yeah, we'll see. Florida leads the way at plus 600, Duke 700, and Michigan was plus 750 till Dusty May left. Now they're at plus 1,200. That's kind of crazy fall.
That's wild.
Man,
that's wild.
Great stuff. So, from the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. Thanks so much for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you never miss an episode, time to make it official. Join the Locked On Tar Heels Every Dayer Club, where you can get ad-free audio versions of the show, one-on-one messaging with me, free access to all of my nerdy stats and charts and data, and so much more. Check it out. That link is down in the show notes. Jonathan, ever since we've started talking about having you on the show, I knew that one of the things I wanted to do the first time we ever talked is lean into the name of your show. One of the great traditions at Carolina, for those who might be unaware, is that when somebody makes a great pass that leads to a basket and assist, you point at them. Why? It's something Dean Smith started to thank the passer. So let's lean into that. My question here, as you look at the shape of this roster, who is the main pointee this year? And by that, I mean, who's the recipient of the most points because they're leading Carolina in assists?
This is a really interesting question. I think this could go a lot of different ways based on the versatility and unique makeup of Malone's first backcourt. I'm going to go with the most versatile guy and unique guy that probably Carolina has maybe ever had, who is the de facto point guard, and that's Neo Avdalas. That's where I'm going to go. I think he was maybe I want to say it was like 4 assists last year at Virginia Tech per game, something like that. I think he could be around in that range, but even if he's not the primary ball handler all the time, he's going to be that primary creator just based on the creativity, the versatility, and the uniqueness, the vision, I think, the height as well. And I think underrated, I know it's been talked about some, but underrated is having his buddy Alexandros Samodurov also in pick and roll situations. Their chemistry there, I think they'll get some assists and some buckets that way, just based on the rapport that they already have.
Dude, that's such a great point. And by the way, Samodurov in Chapel Hill now. He flew, was on a plane. Gosh, I think it was on Father's Day was when that was that he was coming, which is great to have him having been able to be at camp last week and over the weekend. Really good stuff there. You make a great point on that connectivity. I love that there are two pairs of former teammates that make up this roster. That's really neat. Kevin Thomas and Matt Abel, the other. I'm with you in the Avdalas take. That would be mine as well. 4.6 assists per game last year at Virginia Tech, over a 2.1 assist to turnover ratio. I think he was like 2-1 on turnovers. But just to be different so that we've got different answers, because I think you're spot on with what you said. I think there are multiple options here, which might be a good thing that you can't hone in on just one player as the main primary initiator. I'm going to go with the guy that's probably going to be the other highest level usage guy in terms of having the ball in his hands, with Terrence Brown. We know that he's going to be more of an attacking guard, gets to the free throw line a ton. I think that's super incredible. And is going to do a lot for Carolina. And so if not Neo, I would have him as my second option there. That's not his biggest trait, as being a playmaker, but I think Carolina will ask him to do a good bit of that. And so we'll see how all those assists get spread around. I think Matt Abel might even do more of that. I'm very excited about that trio in the backcourt and think it'll be great. But Jay, let's flip it then. If we're talking about the pointee, who's going to be the biggest pointer, meaning who will be Carolina's leading scorer, in your opinion, this upcoming season?
So I think this is interesting. If you're talking about like they're pointing back because of an assist on a bucket, this wouldn't be my answer. But Terrence Brown is going to be right there. I think Terrence Brown, because like you said, his ability to get to the basket, he's going to put up numbers. More often than not, though, I feel like his ability to break somebody down, he's going to be able to get his. He doesn't necessarily need an assist to get there. I think the question for me with Terrence Brown is, can he be more of a true three-level scorer? And how does he do off the catch, some of those assists? So I think if you're talking about just from the point aspect of it, leading scorer, I'm going to go with Matt Abel. I think him coming back was huge for Carolina. He is somebody, I think you've talked about this good amount, that could he be next year's Juke Harris in terms of the breakout? His utilization at NC State, I have questions about how he was used or not used, right? And so I don't question the fact that Michael Malone is going to play him 28 plus minutes a game, Will Wade, this year and be pretty smart about how he's using him. And I think that's going to work really well. So I see him as the leading scorer. If you're looking at the big guys and pointing from baskets, give me Jarin Stevenson as an underrated, sneaky pick there, because I think Michael Malone kept him for a reason. Yeah. I think it's an underrated thing that hasn't been talked about as much. The fact that he was looking at him when he was at the Nuggets of potentially taking Jarin Stevenson or signing him out of Alabama after his first season. And so he sees some things in Jarin. So I think we're going to see some different utilization from Jarin. So of the big guys, that would be my answer. But if you're talking about overall leading scorer, give me Matt Abel.
Yeah, no, I love you going to both sides of that answer there, Jay. And it's the Jarin Stevenson usage, that might be the most intriguing thing to watch this season. Is how does Carolina use him differently than he was used at Alabama or under Hubert Davis? Like that is going to be really fun to watch this season. I am with you that I do think Matt Abel's the leading scorer. I think he and Terrence Brown are number 1 and 2, allowing Neo to just do a bunch of whatever. And so I'll give another answer that I'm really intrigued to see in terms of being a pointer is between Sayon, Keita, and Alexandros Samodurov. Which of them becomes the bigger lob threat? Who is just able to get a lot of those buckets? You talked about the connectivity between Avdalas and Samo, so I'm really curious about that. But Keita's just kind of unique athleticism at his size. Like I'm very intrigued to see both of them. So I love those answers from you as well. There's a lot of question marks about this team, but there's a lot of intrigue as well,
There is. I mean, I think that you have a roster full of guys where there's real pro prospects on this roster. Now, there's a lot of rawness and need for development, and that's a big part of what Michael Malone's selling, right? Is this he is the developer of talent, and he has a staff that he's put around him that is what we're going to do. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how that bears out year one. But can you get a proof of concept where you see some of that, where these guys that like in Keita's case, he's ideally coming in early so he can go one and done and go on to the league as a lottery pick. Is he ready for that? I don't know. Can Malone put him in a situation where he does do that on his schedule where that is in year one? We'll see. So I think that will be really interesting.
Man, gonna be crazy. And so to the point of all these question marks, then let's just round out this segment with and I know you kind of started to hit on this with the realistic view in segment one, and I like that leads us to then thinking about what are the if that's the Goldilocks, what are the too hot and too cold of it, if I can take it that way. Let's answer this question. Carolina reaches their ceiling, whatever that ceiling may be. I don't even feel like the need to define it. I just want to know what it takes to get there. They reach their ceiling but on the other end, they have a kind of crash out low end year what are those two answers for you?
I think it might be the same thing, honestly. And
that's why I asked it together, because I figured
that so two sides of the same coin. For me, it's all on the interior is the focus. There's questions in the backcourt as well, but in terms of the interior, they reach the ceiling if the big guys can give you rebounding, can give you rim protection, and can give you physicality on defense. If they can do those things, those are my biggest concerns with guys that are talented but are really lean players. That you go from somebody like Henry Vasar last year, who that was a question mark for him as well. Henry's got a good amount of weight on all of these guys at this point. And he was pushed around at the ACC level at times. Right. He did well at Holbrook at other times. So that would be my primary concern, where can we stop anybody on the interior? Can we protect the rim? Do we have some of these periods where it felt like there were layup lines in the last couple of years? Does that rear its head? Because ultimately, I think Michael Malone, the way he wants to build his teams is the aggressiveness on defense. And it is the rebounding, the physicality, and the athleticism. You see some of the archetypes of the players that he's starting to recruit. I don't know if they're able to get there. I think a lot relies on the translation of Samodurov's game to college basketball, to this high-level ACC level and power basketball. And how ready is Keita? I think Keita, for me, is the one guy on this team that really takes them. If he can be that lob threat, if he can really come along, I hate to use a Duke comparison, but if he can have a arc like Malloy in terms of his freshman season at Duke, then I think you really have something.
I'm with you. I think that's a great comp. Like come on, Malloy or not, like it makes sense and checks out. Which, speaking of which, I hate that we missed on Boomche. I think that would have been a great get. And I'm nervous that he's going to go slay it over in Durham, but we'll see.
You and I are older. We'll call us older heads, maybe not old heads, but older heads at this point. And I loved watching his dad, Ruben Boomche, play at Georgetown growing up.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude, I wanted Joaquin really badly for Carolina.
And he seems like, I can't remember who it was now. Somebody messaged me that they were like connected to his family, like a member of their family teaches at the school that he and his brothers and sisters go to. It's like this strong Christian family and all this neat stuff. And I was like, dang it, man. It's just, it's a bummer. I wish him well, but I hate that he went to Duke.
Real quick, this is a little bit silly, but this is I know you do bold predictions sometimes of outrageous stuff that's not going to happen. So my outrageous prediction, which is more me wish casting, is that he is unhappy in year one at Duke. And because of his age, he has to be in college basketball for 2 years. He's the first Duke to Carolina basketball transfer. That's my bold outlandish.
Macon Winslow basketball edition. Dude, I am here for that bold take, Jay Adams. I love it. Props to you, sir, because it's going to happen.
It is.
Either from Chapel Hill to Durham or the other way. Like, bound to happen at some point. Obviously, we've seen it a couple times from Carolina to Raleigh, and now Raleigh to Carolina for the first time in this era. So that makes a ton of sense to me. Going to be really, really interesting to see how this year all plays out. I share the exact same concern as you, as the physicality in the front court. If they can get that figured out, might be in good shape, but I just hope we don't get pushed around a lot. Now, we're going to switch from basketball back to baseball a little bit. Still, a week now removed from the national championship game. This baseball team is going to get there at some point, but they're going to need redemption. Can they build on a similar thing that the 16 basketball team turned into the 16 and 17 team that won a title? Let's speculate on that all coming up in just a second. A week ago today, Carolina lost the national champion. I say lost, got clobbered in the national championship by Oklahoma 13-2. And look, at some point, this baseball team is going to win a College World Series. You and I talked about that, Jay, that night after in our live postcast. But one of the things you mentioned was the potential that night of a redemption tour, similar to the basketball team from the 2016 national championship loss to Villanova and Chris Jenkins, to the 27 championship team the next year. They had that whole text thread that was redemption. I've got the book by the title of the same name that Adam Lucas and the SID Steve Kirshner and Matt Bowers, who's part of the comm team there at sports information team there. And so I love this thought. And so just, Jay, my question to you, big picture, looking forward to next year in the Tar Heels, the Diamond Heels, do you see that kind of potential for this team? Obviously not knowing the full shape of it right now.
I absolutely do. I think that what I appreciate the most about Scott Forbes in terms of his coaching philosophy is how process oriented he is about everything. And he reiterates to the team all the time, don't let outcomes become distractions. And They have everything they do. I mean, he's very much he studies Nick Saban a lot. He's got a ton of Saban quotes. There's so many of those things that are process oriented. And so they will flush this. I think they did a good job of doing that, even in this championship series after game one. If we flush it, we'll bounce back. It didn't break their way last night, but I don't think that was for lack of the way that they focused and how they did it. And so the other piece of that is the process is like these guys are grinders. You look at their staff. This is one of the best baseball staffs in the country. I think that's something that also flies under the radar. Guys like Bryant Gaines, the pitching coach. You have Scott Jackson coming over from Liberty.
He's incredible.
Was that after before last season? He brought King Kepley obviously with him and a couple other guys. So you have some like heavy hitters. Bryant Gaines is somebody I would not be surprised if he goes the Robert Woodard path and ends up as a head coach if that's the direction he wants to go at some point. But all that to say, these guys, not only are they really good baseball minds, but they get after it. And they get after it on the recruiting trail and the evaluations. Their evaluations have been spot on. It's pretty unbelievable. The fact that you go from Vance Honeycutt, who I think it's easy to forget that he was not a like big time surefire recruit coming out of high school.
That's right.
And then you go to somebody like King Kepley,
who is killing it in the minors right now, by the way.
I'm a Cubs fan. My brother lives in literally lives in Wrigleyville area, has season tickets. We grew up with family out there. And so nothing would make me happier to see Kane Kepley succeed with the Cubs. But
that's awesome.
So you hit on him, and then you go straight to Owen Hull from George Mason the next year, who had a historic season that we talked about in the postcast in terms of his on-base percentage. You mentioned it, I think, like a week ago or the last few days, that he was over 500. He finished at 500 on-base percentage, which is unbelievable. It's one of the top percentages in Carolina history. And the last time that happened was Dustin Ackley, I think it was. You go back to those years. So they have just hit on these guys year after year. Jake Schaffner, another guy. It looks like early on that they've done this again. They picked up from my neck of the woods, William & Mary's Conference Player of the Year in the CAA. I'm still learning his name, but it's Jamie Liskowski. Jamie Liskowski from William & Mary. Shortstop, somebody who hit in the like 340s, somewhere in there, 13 home runs last year at William & Mary. He should plug right in the Schaffner spot at shortstop, because you assume Schaffner's probably the best prospect right now for Carolina. So we'll see what happens, but I would expect him to go pro and get drafted and move on to his next step. They also brought in James Voorhees from a recent pickup from Cal State. It was a Northridge CSUN. Yeah. And give me somebody that is James Voorhees, same last name as Jason Voorhees. If this guy comes into the Jason theme music when he pitches, I think it's over, man. You got and he projects probably as a starter, but if he comes in as a closer, Isaac, to the Jason theme music, just why do you even have taken a bat? I wouldn't even step in the box. So that aside, he's somebody that projects as a big-time impact player. He was a freshman last year. You have the potential to have a core rotation of Glauber, who, yes, he has a loss now in appearances, but still 29-1, one of the best pitchers not just freshmen, but pitchers in the country. Jackson Rose emerging from the left side, and then you bring in a 6'4" righty and Vuries that could be in that starting rotation. I think the other thing that we've seen from Forbes and company is each year they have some freshmen that are going to factor in. And there are guys that what I like about it is nothing is guaranteed. So you come in the fall, and just because you had a spot last year doesn't mean that you're going to be out there in the same role again. So you could have, that's what happened with Lynch and McDuffie 2 years ago when they came in. It wasn't expected they would factor in as much as they did. So you may have some other guys that emerge there as well. So all that to say, I feel like they're going to be right back in the same situation. I would not be surprised. I actually expect them to make another run at Omaha, and I could see them being on a run or on a roll here for the next few years the way they have this set up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great breakdown. Love all of that. I'm right with you on the evaluate. Like, I think that's been one of the issues for Carolina basketball the past couple of years is the inability to evaluate at the same level that the baseball team has. I mean, it's crazy how they keep hitting, and eventually you're going to have a couple misses. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to continue to get the right dudes. And I mean, assuming nothing wacky happens, you're going to have Glauber as your number one for the next 2 seasons. And that dude, like, DeCaro's been great this year. Lynch has been great, but neither of them were as automatic as Jake Knapp was last year. I mean, it was just uncanny what he did. Glauber has the chance to be that, where every Friday night or Thursday night and a Thursday to Saturday, you're probably going to win that baseball game. And I just feel very confident and comfortable with that. So
Knapp tied the Carolina all-time wins record last year with Greg Norris. It was 14-0. And Glauber went 12-0 this year. Glauber almost got there in his first year. So to your point, he's going to be even better the next 2 years.
That's a great point, man. And just the arm slot, the speed, the nasty off speed stuff, like there's the combination of everything that he does, and he's still wiry. Like his frame has more. Gosh, it's crazy. Okay, last where I could get. I'm a Glauber stan. Why would anybody not be? Here's what I want to do to get out of here. Let's speculate a bit. A decade from now, as we wrap the 2036 baseball season, which hopefully we're still alive. As you said, we're both kind of old heads. We'll be 52 at that point, Jay. That's crazy. By the way, Jonathan and I just figured out, like, right before we started recording that we're like 2 months apart. He was born in December of 83, me late January of 84. It's crazy stuff, but it's why we like the same references and understand each other well. So here are my 3 speculation questions for us, so we can be quick on these. 10 decades, good grief, we'll definitely be dead then. A decade from now, how many more ACC regular season titles does Carolina have? How many more Omaha trips? And I'll save the last one because that's a fun little over-under for the third one. So ACC regular season titles, I don't want to worry about tournaments because that's just whatever. And then Omaha trips in the next decade.
Man, the ACC for as few national championships as the conference has won, 2. Which is only 2, unless you include the self-proclaimed championship by NC State in 2021.
That's right.
But so,
which,
so
by the way, I forgot to congratulate you on your brilliant Will Wade dig earlier. That was so subtle, and I forgot to come back around to it, and that just jogged my memory. Well played. Keep going.
That's a big, if you listen to our podcast, Point of the Passer, that's a big part of our podcast is me just taking digs at State and Duke most of the time.
Yeah.
But so I would say it's tough to win. It's a tough conference. I would say 2 ACC regular season championships. I think that's realistic in 10 years with the competition of Georgia Tech and other teams. Omaha, I'm going to say they're going to get on a roll here again. I'm going to say 4. I know that's a high number in 10 years, but you look at Forbes, 2 in his first 6 years, 4 super regionals during that time. I think it's not impossible for them to get on a similar roll that Fox had in that 2006 to 2009 period of time.
You know what's interesting about that answer is, like, when you said it, my brain was like, boy, that's a lot. But they've been to 9 of the last 20. So, like, it checks out. Like,
it's not
over under 4.5, right? Should be the number we set. And so it's funny, but I'm with you that I think it's more likely to have more CWS appearances than ACC regular season titles. And that's kind of funny, but it makes sense. Funny enough, I was going to say 3 of each. So you just went 1 below and 1 above me on those answers. I'm with you. Okay. But here's the big daddy, the big answer. Over under 0.5 national championships in the next decade. Where are you at?
The dam is going to break here, Isaac. I'm going way over, so I'm going 2. I think they get it done. I think they get it done twice. I think it's one of those things that once it happens again. But the biggest thing is you got to get the first one, because until it happens, every time they go to Omaha, they will be on that graphic with Florida State, or really every World Series. You'll be on the graphic as the second most appearances, 13 without a title. You just have to get the one. Florida has 14 appearances. They only have one title. Florida's considered a blue blood of college baseball. They've only won it once. Yeah. That shocked me to see that. Oklahoma State has been to the College World Series 20 times. They're not on that graphic because they have one national championship. Mississippi State is the next one with 12. So, if you get off the graphic, first of all, you got to get the one, but I'm going to go 2.
Get off the graphic. That needs to become like next baseball season. Can that be the marching orders? Get off the graphic. GOTG. We'll just hashtag got G all next season. I'm here for that. No, it makes it. And legitimately, I compared it the other day to I'm a big Braves fan, for those of you who are unaware. And it's that same thing where they had that crazy run our whole childhood with one World Series to show for it. But it's just like, you just need one. And so I'm with you. I'm going to take the over. I like the boldness of 2. All right, you all. Great fun show today. Happy brand new week. Can't believe we're about to transition to July. So great to have Jonathan Adams on. As we've been saying, we're going to have to do more of it as we go throughout the summer and getting back into the new year. That'll be a lot of fun. And so if you've not gone and checked out PTTP, Point to the Passer Pod, you need to do so right now. Jay and Craig doing great stuff over there. Go follow them on YouTube and other on the audio side of things as well. If you haven't subscribed to our show as well as started following it on audio, please do that. If you're not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you in there, as well as the Locked On Everydayer Club. Those links are both down in the show notes. We're going to get out of here the way we always do. Join us, won't you? It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.